Traveling Europe for free might sound too good to be true, but there are some great ways to get rid of the major expenses that you have when traveling. One big expense that prevents a lot of people from traveling is the cost of airfare. My favorite way to get my airfare for free is to use a travel rewards card. So a lot of banks offer travel rewards cards that as you purchase things with them, you accumulate points that you can then use later to redeem and cover travel expenses. So for the last 5 years or so, my wife and I have purchased all of our gas using a travel rewards card, and then we just pay it off right away. We treat it exactly like a debit card. I would caution anyone from getting a credit card unless you're gonna treat it exactly like a debit card. But if you know that you have self-control, they can be a great way to save up money to cover one of your biggest expenses, which is airfare. So you've made it to Europe, now how do you get around for free? The best option for getting around totally for free would be hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is inherently dangerous because you're completely depending on strangers. I don't recommend hitchhiking alone. I think it's a lot safer to do in pairs, but even then it still comes with some risk. If you want to try hitchhiking, there are some great websites like hitchwiki.org that offer a lot of good information for first-time hitchhikers. If hitchhiking sounds too dangerous to you, something else you might consider doing is getting to Europe and then purchasing like a decent bicycle. If you're just traveling 1 or 2 countries, I could see biking as a viable way to get around the country for a pretty low budget. Of course, you'll have to purchase a bike and then maintain it as you're getting around. So it wouldn't be totally free, but it definitely is a more budget option to consider. The next major expense you need to cover is accommodation. So my first recommendation for getting accommodation for free would be to work your connections. So if you have friends or family members that live in Europe, you can go and stay with them, and that's definitely gonna be cheaper than staying at a hotel or something. If you have enough connections, you could even plan your whole route around Europe so that you're just staying with your connections in each different country. If you're a little short on connections in Europe, another free option you could look at would be websites such as Workaway and Couchsurfing. So Couchsurfing is a global community of people that offer up their spare room or their couch for people to spend the night on. As far as safety level, this is comparable to hitchhiking because again, you're depending on the kindness of strangers. But the nice thing about Couchsurfing is they do have a pretty extensive host review process. And so you're able to read reviews about hosts, and then the hosts in turn are also able to read reviews about the travelers. And so there is a little bit of a built-in accountability system there, but still you want to be careful. Workaway is the other website. This one you do have to pay a fee to sign up for a profile, but once you're in, you're able to connect with hosts in different countries, and typically you're exchanging some type of work for your accommodation and sometimes even food. Another free accommodation option you might consider would be working at a hostel. Some hostels will let you work a few hours a day in exchange for sleeping there for free. Of course, not every hostel does this, but if you do some research, you can usually find a few that do. It can also be a little competitive with other travelers trying to do the same thing. If there's a specific place you want to stay, I don't think it would hurt emailing a few different hostels and seeing if they offer any options like this. Another method you could try is house sitting, where you legit just take care of someone's house and maybe a few animals in exchange for getting to stay there, and you might even get a paycheck as well. So if you make it to Europe, of course you're gonna want stuff to do while you're there. My favorite free things to do in Europe are taking walking tours. So walking tours just add a lot of context to whatever city you're visiting and just make you appreciate it all that much more. Unless you're going to a big national park, nature is usually free to enjoy. Europe has some of the best hiking in the world, and so you can go on hikes. You could also just relax on the beach. Something else you can often do for free is visit museums. If they're not totally free, they also usually offer a student discount if you present your student ID. And of course, if you ever run out of free things to do, you can always ask locals. They're gonna know the best spots in the area for things for you to enjoy. Some things just to keep in mind if you're trying to travel Europe for free or just on a really low budget. I would suggest avoid traveling Europe in summer. That's when the most people are traveling there, and so prices will be the highest and things will be the most crowded. So if you can travel in the shoulder season or the off season, your expenses across the board are gonna be a lot lower, and you might have more opportunities to do things for free. Something I haven't touched on a ton is food. So of course you're gonna need to eat while you're traveling. If you wanna cut your expenses for food, most hostels you'll stay at have some kind of kitchen facility where you can do all your cooking there, and they even have pots and pans and most of the stuff that you would need to cook a full meal. Not eating out definitely saves you a lot of money. Traveling is a lot easier with at least some money in your bank account to fall back on if you need it. For my first big trip, I saved up for it making minimum wage at a fast food restaurant, and so if travel is something you really want to do, I know it is possible. You can check out my complete 3-month Europe itinerary that I've linked down in the description. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.